Shalom, and welcome to our History Podcast. This is a production of KingdomPreppers.org. I'm your host, Kingdom Prepper, and you're listening to Churchianity, 2,000 Years of Leaven. We continue with our history. Part 15, Arab Invasion. Intermittent wars had raged between Persia and Byzantium for decades, spanning the reigns of several emperors, with both sides gaining and losing ground. In South Arabia, a different struggle was waged on a daily basis, that of basic survival in a hostile desert. The people of the kingdom of Himyar, tucked in the southwest corner of the Arabian Peninsula, were indifferent to the wars between the great rivals. They were concerned with fighting one another, as well as the harsh elements of their surroundings.
In 590, a disaster far to the south shifted and broke the existing patterns of alliance and hostility.
Writes Susan Wise Bauer in The History of the Medieval World.
In the center of Himyar, near the city of Marib, a man-made dam had been built back in the days of the Sabian kingdom. The dam closed off the Wadi Dana, the valley that collected rainwater and runoff from nearby mountains during wet seasons, usually only April and a 30-day period in July and August.
For the residents of Marib, the dam was a vital source of life. They were able to both save and channel its water to cultivated fields through a system of irrigation. The dam was also the reason the population swelled to around 50,000, which was rare in Arabia at that time due to the lack of abundant food and water needed to support large populations. Susan Wise Bauer adds that
unpredictable shifts in weather patterns during the 530s and 540s had twice caused such severe and sudden rainstorms that the dam, unable to hold the runoff, had broken.
We discussed these decades-long shifts in weather pattern in episode 13.
Both times, the flood caused enormous damage.
A chronicler named Simeon of Beth Arsham, writing on the history of Himyar during the Persian reign, says that
the mass of water gushed out and came down, and there was great terror. Many villages, people, and cattle were flooded, as well as everything which was standing in the way of the sudden mass of water. It destroyed many communities.
Twice in its history, the dam had been repaired, though its structure was permanently weakened. And in 590, when it broke a third and final time, the flood swept toward villages downstream, completely wiping them out. Marib, which was already a fraction of its original population due to the prior floods, was now a near-deserted town. Elsewhere in the south, tribes who had depended on water from the dam headed northeast to more accommodating regions of the Arabian Peninsula. The dam had been such a vital part of life for many Arabs that it figured prominently in their collective lore, being recorded in a passage of the Qur'an.
There was for Sabia, aforetime, a sign in their homeland, 2 gardens to the right and the left. But they turned away from Allah, and we sent against them the flood released from the dams, and we converted their 2 garden rows into gardens producing bitter fruit. We made them as a tale that is told, and we dispersed them all in scattered fragments.
While the people did scatter, this was by no means a prophecy. At the time of the dam's final collapse, Muhammad had not received his supposed visions, nor was the Qur'an written, so the passage looks to the past. Now, with no reliable source of water in the south, the Arabs went northwards, peopling cities that were once sparse. Mecca, the birthplace of Islam's founder and home to the cherished Kaaba, was no longer the only major populated city. Many who migrated from the south also flocked to one settlement in particular, Medina, a less prosperous town that would eventually rise in prominence. Medina was already bursting with Israelites who had migrated there as a result of the diaspora, and their culture and scriptural beliefs in fact influenced what became Islam. With all these migrants flooding into northern cities and towns, disputes were inevitable. Arabs lived in clans that were part of larger tribes. All these clans were linked by blood or marriage, but some clans were more powerful than others. It was into one of the poorer, less influential clans of the Quraysh tribe the Banu Hashim, that Muhammad was born, 6 months after his father had died. He was a full orphan by age 6. His uncle, Abu Talib, a merchant, raised him, and thus he earned his living among merchants. It was while managing the caravan of a wealthy widow merchant, whose investment he doubled via his expert abilities, that Muhammad's life was dramatically altered. The widow, Khadijah, asked him to marry her, and after he did, they eventually had 3 children. His increased wealth caused him to see clearly the sharp divide between rich and poor. Susan Wise Bauer adds that
Muhammad, devout by nature, took it upon himself to spend 1 sacred month of each year providing for the poor. His biographer Ishaq tells us that he would pray, give food to all the poverty-stricken residents of Mecca who came to him, and then walk around the Kaaba 7 times.
This is drawn from the ancient tradition that is still practiced in part to this day by Muslims on pilgrimage. In the year 610, during his month of service, Muhammad claims to have had a vision from a heavenly messenger known to Israelite scriptures, Gabriel. At first, he only related these things to his close friends and family, but in 613, he began preaching his new message to others.
To listen to the full audio of this podcast, or to download a free MP3 version, visit our website, kingdompreppers.org, by clicking the link in the description, and journey with us on this important historic odyssey.